Hey guys, welcome back to part 3 of my conditional series. We've already done parts 1 and 2. So if you need to do like a whole, review of the 0, the first, the second, the third, and the advanced 0 and first and mixed conditionals, go ahead, links are in the description below. And I'll probably put something up here for you to look at. But today, we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on conditionals with modals. Can, may, might, should, all of that good stuff, okay? I know it can be tricky. I'll do my best to make it as simple as possible. We'll also talk about some pronunciation stuff at the end that's very important, okay? Very, very important. It'll help you talk a lot quicker, okay? It'll help you speak like a native speaker, okay? So, without further ado, let's move on to part 3. Let me scroll down here. Alrighty. I don't know why there's a 4 here, but that's the way she goes. So, what I will do is I'll explain each modal the best I can. Okay, this isn't a video all about modals and every circumstance in which we can use the modal verb, but I will give you a pretty detailed explanation of the modal verb and then how we can use it in a conditional sentence, right? So let's look here with can. Remember guys, you guys know you're advanced. Can is, I can do it. That means you have the ability to do it, right? The ability or possibility. Okay, so let's look at the 0 conditional. If you can rollerblade, skating isn't too difficult. Okay, so here, remember the 0 conditional, just remember 0 conditional, it's a fancy word, term, whatever you want to say, for a fact, like a truth, a general truth, right? If you can rollerblade, skating isn't too difficult. If we wanted to put this into the first conditional, we'd say, if you can rollerblade, skating won't be too difficult. Okay, skating will not be too difficult. And the first versus the 0, here we're just talking about a fact. But in the first, maybe I'm having a discussion with my friend and I'm saying, if you can rollerblade, skating won't be difficult. Okay, and maybe we're going skating later in the day, and I said, don't worry, if you can rollerblade, skating won't be difficult for you. Okay, so if this is the case, then, okay, if you can do this, then this won't be difficult. Okay, that's the first. If you're just talking in a general sense, 0 conditional, right, with can. Similarly, if you can run, you can walk, right? Because if you're able, another way to say that is if you're able to run, you are able to walk, right? If you can run, you can walk. It would be strange otherwise. But maybe there are some people that can run and they're not too good at walking. Who knows? I will move on because that's a stupid point. Anyway, first conditional here. If you pick last, you can pick first next time. So I'm saying if you pick last this time, you can pick first next time. All right? No will, right? Instead of will, we have a can here. You can use will. If you pick last this time, you will pick first next time. So that's like really strong, right? If you pick for last this time, then you will pick first next time. You can pick first next time. Either we're emphasizing, right, the ability or the possibility, right? Probably the possibility in this case. You can do it next time, okay? You'll have the possibility, okay, to do it next time. The same thing here, guys. Some more examples. What I wanted to show you, though, is I can't go tonight if we aren't back by 11. So also in the negative, you can do it, right? Same story, okay? But after your if, guys, we use the present, right? Notice in all these cases here, we're using the present, okay, after your if, okay? The same thing in the question form, right? Can we go out if we are back by 11? Can we go out if we're back by 11? Okay, we're asking if we have the, ability. Can we do this? Okay. Remember, guys, can, we don't use it really in the second or third conditional because can's really like now. Okay, so either 0 or first, and these are your forms. Okay. Next, must. Okay, must is for strong obligations. Strong obligations. So here we have, if you are pregnant, you mustn't drink wine. You mustn't drink wine. Okay, you must not. Okay. The same thing, if you are pregnant, you must take care of your body. These are obligations, right? Strong obligations. But guys, what you will notice is the use of must has steadily decreased over time, okay? It really has in the English language, but there are still some common expressions like this one here. If you must know, I'm married. What does that mean, if you must know? Maybe someone's really trying to get some information out of you, and you finally give in and say, okay, if you must know, in other words, if you have to know, I'm married. The same thing here, though. You could use it with different tenses. Remember, don't think in a box. Think logically. Does it make sense? If you must know right now, if you must know, I got an A on my science exam. Maybe my friend really wants to know my grade, and I don't feel like telling him. I don't want to brag that I got an A. But he's really prying and he really wants to know. So I say, if you must know, I got an A on my science exam. Okay. First conditional over here, we can also use with must. If you visit Rome, you really must stop by. Okay. So I'm saying it's something that you really, really, really have to do because I live in Rome and I miss you. You're my friend. You really must stop by. Okay. This is another common expression, I'd say. Here, back to more like must. It's a strong obligation. If he hurts you, you must tell me. All right, maybe a teacher or whatever. Okay, the same thing goes with the negative. Alrighty, let's move on to may and might. So may and might, students have some difficulty with this. Okay, so might is a bit less strong than may. Okay, with might and may, we're always in the realm of, maybe, okay, there's a possibility, okay, but might is a little less strong. Let's look at an example here. So Peter may like peanuts if he likes cashews, okay, and Peter might like peanuts if he likes cashews, okay. So Peter may like peanuts. That means I have a bit, like, it's maybe, okay, but I have a bit of a stronger inkling than the might here. He might like peanuts means, okay, maybe not low probability, okay, but low to medium, right? And may's maybe about medium probability and maybe a tad bit higher depending on the context, okay? The same thing in the first conditional. I may stop by if I'm early. I might stop by if I'm early. Okay, so these are very similar. Okay, but the may is I may stop by. That means that there's a slightly higher chance. It still may be, right? But slightly higher chance than this might. But what you have to remember, guys, is that people manipulate language all the time, right? Because they want to be tricky or lie or not tell the truth. And sometimes that's good, right? Maybe someone's telling you, I know I would always tell my grandmother, even, if I was really busy, I would say, I might, I might stop by if I'm early. Okay, I might stop by if I'm early. Maybe I'm using that, right? I might stop by when I have no intention of stopping by. Okay. Similarly, I may say to her, yeah, I may stop by if I'm early, to give her that, even stronger, okay, inkling to say, okay, yeah, oh, he's given it some thought and he wants to come see me. But really maybe it's closer to might or not at all. Okay, so you know, that's sort of manipulated sometimes. I love my grandparents, obviously. Um, but when you're busy, it's hard and they really want to see you. And I do my best to go see them. Anyway, the zero here, right, guys? If plus present plus may plus might, or might, okay? So we talked about that up here, and the first if plus present plus must. Remember, guys, here we use the present after if. Always remember, present after if. The same thing up here, right? Present after if, okay? Don't use will or anything like that with these modal verbs, okay? A good thing to note here is that for may, where the difference is between may and might, okay, don't worry too much about the difference here, but you cannot use might for polite questions. So like this example here, may I take your daughter out if I promise to have her home by 9 p.m.? Okay, you can't use might here because it's just a polite question. May I take your daughter out if I promise to have her home by 9 p.m.? Okay. You could use can here. Can I take your daughter out? Okay, that's not as polite, all right? But you could say that, right? You could also use could, okay, which we'll talk about in a second down here. May, however, is the most polite, then could, and then can. Okay, can's not really polite. May and could are both polite. May is just the really polite form. Now, you might use might in a mixed conditional, okay? So notice here I said something that didn't happen. So if it's something that didn't happen, we tend to use might over may. Because remember we said that might is something we're less certain of than may. So if it didn't happen, then we're less certain of it, right? So for example, in this mixed conditional, remember we talked about mixed conditionals last time in part 2. If I had listened to Steve instead of Tom, okay, this is in the past, I might not be in the mess I'm in now. So that's in the present, right? So notice, if I'd listened to Steve instead of Tom, that's something that did not happen. Okay, so we have to use might, okay? I might not be in the mess I am in now. The consequence is now, okay? So note that there are no second and third conditionals with may have or might have, all right? Sorry, with might or may. There are with may and might have, which we will talk about down below, okay? But before, let me take a drink. But before that, let's look at could and could have, okay? So possibility or polite. So it can be used for both, okay? Could and could have in all three forms. But the second conditional I'd say is less common, okay? So the first one here, if it snows tomorrow, we could go tobogganing. All right, we could go, down the hill in the snow. We could go tobogganing. If it snows tomorrow, we could go tobogganing. So it's a possibility. Okay, we could. All right. The same thing, number 2, if I met Wayne Gretzky, okay, I could give him my hockey card to be signed. All right, if I met Wayne Gretzky, I could give him my hockey card to be signed. That's a bit, it sounds a bit weird, but it could be used sometimes. All right, the same thing in the third conditional. We could have gone to the finals if James hadn't played so poorly. Both of these are in the past, right? So we use could have past participle. Okay, so instead of saying we would have gone to the finals if James hadn't played so poorly, here we're saying we could have. So we would have had the ability to, or maybe, it would have been more, there was the possibility, like we say here, there was a possibility had he not played so poorly. Okay, yeah, that's that. So also, guys, don't forget could is also a polite form. So could I take your daughter out if I promise to have her home by 9? Remember, not as polite as may, but more polite than can. Okay, it's a very polite way to say it, okay? The same thing here. If it's nice tomorrow, I could take the kids out for a picnic. Okay, so I'm sort of offering up my services, trying to be polite. I could do this, you know. That's that for could, okay? Remember, guys, if you have any questions about this, I know it's a bit, you know, complicated, and I don't want this video to be an hour long, so I'm going through it quite quickly. But if you have any questions, comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel because it helps me so much to make more great content for you. Now, should. Okay, should. What is should? Should is something, you know, that you ought to do. Okay, should and ought to are very similar. Ought to usually means really should. Okay, it's usually advice or something that would be the wise decision, the intelligent thing to do. Okay, so it's used in the zero conditional. If you play baseball, you should always keep your eye on the ball. Okay, if you play, notice guys, present again. Okay, if you play baseball, you should always keep your eye on the ball. Keep your eye on the ball means eye on the ball. You should play Betty in net if Marla's sick. Okay, notice guys, after if, always the present. Okay, you could use it in a question. Should I sit him if he doesn't pass the puck? That's Canadian stuff, right? Puck is the little disc thingy that we play hockey with. Should I sit him means should I bench him? Should I not play him? Okay, I'm asking someone for their advice, so I use should in this case. Okay, and notice present again. Now, a quick history lesson. I won't go into it because it's, you know, pointless for you guys to learn this, but should was used, you know, it's still used sometimes in a formal setting in the second conditional, and it used to even be used in the third conditional in Old English. Okay, you can see this quote from 1918 when, because we used to use should for I and we. Anyway, it's not important, so ignore this, just focus on should in the zero and the first. Okay, don't worry about all this up here. You can read it if you're interested in stuff like that, like me, but otherwise forget about it because it's not important, especially for an English learner. All right, so now this is important, however. Okay, so must have and should have, what's the difference? Okay, so must have is something that you're quite certain of. Okay, so if I say, don't be silly, you must have played well if you scored 3 goals. Note that for must have and should have, it's not your sort of traditional conditional hypothetical thing. In one clause, we're talking about a fact. Okay, so if you scored 3 goals, you must have played well. So this is a fact. Okay, so this isn't following your traditional first, second, third conditional form, okay, but it's still an if, so I put it in here. So don't be silly, you must have played well. So that means that I am quite certain, okay. Must have is usually over 90% certainty, okay, so 90 to 100%, okay, so you must have played well if you scored 3 goals. All right, no, must have has nothing to do with must. Must is a strong obligation. Must have plus your past participle is something that's completely different, okay? Whereas should have is for past advice, a recommendation, or a mistake. So if he was depressed, this is in the past, and it's a fact, that's why we don't use were. So if he was depressed, you should have gone to see him. So if he was depressed, you really should have gone to see him. Okay, that would have been the wise thing to do. So should have, we're giving you something, past advice. The same thing here. If you knew my number, you really should have called me sooner. Or even with the, remember, we can throw in the present perfect sometimes there if it makes sense. If you've known my number all this time, you should have called me sooner. Okay, note that here should have is stronger than could have. So if I say, you know, if you've known my number all this time, you could have called me sooner. Okay, that means that you had the possibility to call me sooner, and you could have. Okay, if I say you should have called me sooner, it's stronger, and I'm saying that's something that you should have done, something that would have been wise to do, would have been the smart, good thing to do. So should is for that advice, remember guys. Okay, now, very interesting, might have and may have. Okay, so for your third conditional, we have if plus past perfect plus might or may have plus past participle. So if you had studied, you might have passed the test. If you had studied, you may have passed the test. So both saying that there was the possibility, maybe, okay, you would have passed, okay. If you say, if you'd studied, you would have passed the test, okay, would have, your traditional third conditional, that's saying that 100%, right? If you'd studied, you would have passed. Here, we're not so sure. We're saying, yes, it's more likely that you would have passed, but we're still, is iffy, okay? If you had studied, you might have passed the test is even less sure than may have passed the test, okay? So, that's that. But guys, remember what I said before, that might, the tendency is to use might when something didn't happen. So might is more likely in this sentence, okay? But you'll see both sometimes, okay? Now, mixed conditionals. So if plus were plus might may have, okay? So if you were taller, you might have had a better chance at making your college basketball team. All right, so if you were taller, you might have had a better chance. Okay, note that here we have to be. So the to be is now. That's why we use this sort of mixed conditional. That's the common sort of thing formula here, because the to be, you don't change who you are, so it's still now. Okay, but you might have had a better chance at making your college basketball team. So maybe you would have had a better chance. Okay, that's where that maybe comes in. That's where we use might and may. So for might and may, guys, remember, don't worry too much about the differences. The main difference is that we use may also for polite questions, whereas might and may are sort of interchangeable. Might slightly, okay, stronger, less strong, okay, of an inkling than may. All right, but don't worry too much about that. Just remember, polite questions only with may. Okay, now, this is the important part. Let me get ready for this. Okay, I need to stay hydrated. It's so hot today. Oh my gosh. Okay, so native speaker pronunciation. You guys don't want to speak slowly like I do. You guys want to speak nice. All right. Not to say that I don't speak nice, but when you teach English so much, you have to slow it down for your students, and then you start speaking slower. Okay. But here, look, guys, a native speaker would never say, even me, I'd never say, he would have given me $5 if I'd done 50 push-ups. No, okay? This have is not stressed. So we don't say this H here, okay? We say it like an of. And sometimes you'll even see native English people write of here because that's how we say it. They don't realize that the auxiliary there is have. So he would have given me. Okay, this is not how you spell it by no means. Okay, but that's how we say it all the time. I'm not kidding. Okay, so he would have given me $5 if I'd done 50 push-ups. So notice how that flows a lot better. And some people even get lazier, and they say he would have given me. He woulda woulda, woulda. Okay, so he would have given me. Note that we don't say the L. Would. No, 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 no. Okay, so he would have given me, or he would have given me. Okay, he would have. Try repeating it with me. Okay, so he would have given me $5 if I'd done 50 push-ups. You try it. That's good, I think. I don't know. I'm on a computer. That's not yours. But yeah, guys, so would have given me, or would have given me. That's very fast, right? Because native speakers were always trying to create these fast little tricks to speed things up. Same thing, instead of could have come with us, you can say could have come with us. If you'd known how to skate at the time, you could have come with us. If you'd known how to skate at the time, you could have come with us. All right, so that's could have. So you repeat. If you'd known how to skate at the time, you could have come with us. You try. Fantastic, guys. Okay, very, very good. So the next one here, the same thing with shoulda, should have. You can say should have gone or should have gone. Okay, so if he was depressed, you should have gone to see him. You should have gone to see him. Or if he was depressed, you should have gone to see him. Okay, so this should have. So you repeat, if he was depressed, you should have gone to see him. You try. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so that's something that can help you. And actually, because of all this, we have these cool expressions like shoulda, coulda, woulda, but didn't. Okay, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but didn't. So maybe someone's talking about, oh, if you'd done this, then this would have happened, and you should have done this, you could have done this, you know? They're talking about all these hypotheticals, and you're like, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but didn't. That's not what I did, you know? Or, you know, maybe you're talking and the person's saying all these hypotheticals, and you're like, guys, come on, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but didn't, right? Or maybe you're giving excuses rather and saying, I should have done this, I could have done this, I would have done this, and the person replies to you, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but didn't. All right. The same thing here. You can say, if I could, I would, but I can't, so I won't. Or if I could, I would, but I can't, so I shan't. Okay. So this one here means if I could, maybe you're asking, someone's asking for help, and you're saying, I could, if I could, I would, but I can't, so I won't. So this here sort of sums up a lot of what we learned, right? So if I could, I would do this. This is a common formula too. But I can't, so I will not. But I can't, so I won't. Okay, so if I could, I would, but I can't, so I won't. That's a good expression too, guys. So please don't forget, guys, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Helps me a lot. And I will see you in the next one. Okay, the next video, which is part 4 of this whole thing. In the next live stream, we will have questions, practice questions for these modals. Because I know they're difficult and I know that I want to give you some practice. Maybe you're watching this after that, you can go to that in the description, or maybe you're watching this on my website, in which case you'll have questions to do right in front of you. So go do those. Thank you so much, guys. God bless you. I will see you, and I'm gonna go take a walk because I'm boiling in here.